Thank you very much. I would like to, if you can comment on the outbreaks of cholera in several countries in Africa. And also I read that there are some analyses that says that the most many of the countries affected shows also a disproportionate situation of gender inequality. What makes that victims, I mean the persons infected, are mostly women and children. If you can comment that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. I would like to invite Dr. Abdulrahman Mahamoud, who is the director at NTM for the Alert and Response Coordination, to take this question. Dr. Abdi, can you hear me?
Thank you, Fadila, and thank you so much for highlighting cholera, one of the neglected pandemic last year within the history of WHO as we celebrate 5 years. Indeed, has been a major issue as the climate conflict and humanitarian crisis coming together, a disease that we are seeing spreading further. We had a big outbreak in Malawi, now in Mozambique, spreading further in the southern part of Africa and a lot of countries. As DG several times have said, we require this impact disease being supercharged because of the climate crisis. Of course, climate crisis, a lot of the burden of this falls on the gender issue. Women and children have been affected more and more cases we have been seeing. Our team there, with the support of social anthropologists, are engaging with the communities, understanding disaggregated data and the burden on them. So thank you for the highlighting that point, and thank you for starting with cholera, the longest pandemic.
Let's go to Jeremy Lunch from Radio France Internationale.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon. I'd like to go back to the pandemic treaty. Just like to know how are the talks going? Is it more like a stalemate for now, or do you expect members to move along the line between the need for more transparency versus status quo? And I believe the line will be more China against the US. So how is your feeling right now about the talks and the week that we've been through?
Anyone online from colleagues, or I go? Yeah, maybe to talk about what's happening this week, it's better to really recap the journey of the pandemic accord or treaties development until now. I think the first step, which was a milestone, was the agreement of the member states to have a legally binding agreement, which is very crucial. And second, they have opened up a very open, transparent and inclusive process, and many stakeholders have already contributed, and that's why the zero draft is very rich. So I think these are very important developments. And this, as you know, is the IMB 5, and the commitment of member states is very, very good so far, because things are now going based on the plan. Of course, during negotiation, as you know, coming to this week, there will be differences. That's why there is a need for negotiation. And I know there are some sticky issues. And some member states even came and asked me about my opinion, even on some of the specific issues that's causing some differences. And my advice was, this pandemic has been unprecedented. And we all have learned our lessons. But if we're serious about the lessons we have learned, then we will agree to put solutions to address the problems we have faced, so that we will not be confronted in the future with the same mistake. So to those who have asked me, that's the general answer I gave. Let's not allow ourselves to repeat the same mistakes again, because I don't think we will forgive ourselves if we don't include or if we don't agree on this pandemic accord and repeat the same mistakes when another pandemic hits. And our children and grandchildren will also not forgive us. I think there is that understanding, the need for a pandemic accord, and a pandemic accord that helps us not to repeat the same mistakes, to address the problems that we have faced. I believe, although there are still controversial issues, which is natural, by the way, during negotiation, that's why they do negotiations, because there are differences. But I believe at the end of the day, they will find a balancing act. They will find a way to really come to a consensus to have the pandemic accord, because everybody knows this has been the most serious crisis in a century, unprecedented, and we have learned our lessons, and I believe everybody will understand the need to have an accord that addresses the problems that we have faced. So that's what I see. And this week there are areas where progress has been made, and there are areas that need continued engagement and negotiation. But in general, I think there is readiness by the member states. There is no difference actually on the need to have an accord. And on the content, at the end of the day, I believe they will come to a balancing act that will address the important issues and make this document as good as possible.
I would like now to go to the other side of the room. Tomo Deguchi, you have the floor.
Deguchi, West Vietnamese. China CDC have just published yesterday published the result on the papers about the Wuhan market, which contains the data which was not made augmented on the result. And are we closer to the finding out the origin of the virus? Thank you.
Paper was published yesterday, which is an evaluation of some environmental samples that were collected in the Huanan market in Wuhan in January 2020. That paper was actually made available last year as a preprint, as you know. It wasn't published in a peer-reviewed journal, but it was put up on a preprint server. So we did get a preview of what that analysis entailed. The researchers from China CDC have updated that analysis and have made the preprint available, and that paper is now published. The data that underlies that assessment has been made available to all GISAID users, and a number of scientists have